Hey everyone, it's Jason. Welcome to a video for Batman the Animated Series Shadow of the Bat, one of the adventure game systems by IDW. So you can check out my previous videos where I've done unboxings for all the different base games, expansions, and stretch goal for the Kickstarter stuff. In this video, I'm going to do someone requested me just showing off the missions. I don't usually show them off during the unboxings. I just kind of like give you a glimpse of what they are, but I don't actually literally go through them all. Partly spoiler reasons. Maybe people want to be more surprised at what's coming up in the game. They don't want every little bit revealed. And the other part is because I feel like you should be able to see what the game is. If you're just looking, you know what's in the box. Okay, I know I have maps, but I don't need to see everyone. But sometimes people do want a reference to them. Maybe they couldn't pick up one of the specific expansions and they always want to create their own mode, or they just want to get ideas of different things they can do from some of the Kickstarter stuff, even if they don't have, all the maps, they can always, or all the figures, they can at least recreate some of the stories using what they have. So I'm going to do this in a two-part video. The first part, I am going to go through episodes 1 to 5, the second book, which is episodes 6 to 12, and then the third book, which follows the Arkham Asylum expansion, which goes up through episode 18. Then in the second video, I will go over all the stretch goals and all the smaller expansion, Mystery of Batwoman, Master of the Phantasm, and the Villain Upgrade Pack, which leads up to, I think, it's episode 26. So that'll be 19 through 26 in there. Just that way so you can watch the first one if you just have the core stuff and you want it as a refresher. So a couple of things I just wanted to point out at the beginning of this video before I jump into the maps was, if we go back into the book, we just have a glossary for our terrain, just as a reminder of what everything does. I'm not going to read through all the little things, but just so if we're looking at the map, I'm going to show off the terrain guides and stuff too, so if you want to look at them in just a sec. But I will hold everything up for, I'll do a little bit of talking about some of this stuff, maybe reading some, but I'm not going to read every text on everything. More of it's, I'll hold it up, you guys, long enough so you guys can, pause for a little bit, write down the information or visually look at it. But here we got our different stuff. We have our tokens, of course, might be added in there, with all the different colored borders behind them. Yellow is our slow terrain, which affects movement. Red, which stops movement. Black, which blocks movement. Green, which is covered terrain, stuff you can get extra defense from. Blue is your elevated terrain, which has falling line of sight, so things are a little bit higher. Orange is unstable terrain, stuff you can't really stand on. Light gray is our obscuring terrain, like smoke and fire. Pink is harmful, which also might be mixed with gray. Stuff that hurts you when you touch it, like your Caltrops and fire, of course. Purple is bottomless terrain. Then we do have yellow, which is also slow terrain. We also can be fire escapes and staircases. Then, of course, there are doors, which will have special effects. Of course, Batman then has the special skylights in there. And then there's the terrain type lines, which work the same way. We have black for blocking lines, slow lines, climbable lines, obscuring lines, harmful lines. And then just some character traits, just show off them really quick. Just as a reminder, and again, we have our terrain guide here. So we'll kind of hold that up so everyone can see. I'll do a little bit of zooming on these so you can read them a little bit. Just in case you need a reminder, if you're looking at the map, what specifically each thing does. So there's our covered, elevated, rough, slow. Let me back this out a little bit so you can see bottomless, blocking, obscure, unstable, harmful, all the different lines. Our doors, our staircases, and our skylights, which we just mentioned all of those. Then on the back side, we just have our cooperative mode. I'll just kind of hold this for a second. That's not really what we're looking at too much in this one. Because then we have our competitive mode there as well. Which again, we're not too much looking at this as much for this mode, or this video. But I just want to have these referenced. But we do want to just reference some of the other game stuff. take cover, climb, crouch, leap. What a bunch of the different status tokens look like, just because they might be pictured on the board. Smile, Spear, Entangled, some of them Hostage especially. And then just show that really quick as long as we're at it. Alright, so let's hop into episode 1. Of course, we're going to have, just as a reminder on the beginning of the sheets here, each scenario provide players with the key information: win condition for both heroes and villains, villain construction for competitive mode, initiative deck for cooperative mode, which is versus the AI, total number of figures brought into battle, special rules, and map and tokens set up. Yeah, so cool. And then we have our description. So if it has a green star, that's where heroes start with. Red stars are where villains start with. And if it has a unique portrait of a green circle, indicates that a specific hero must be used. Now, if you're following the campaign or going through playing that way, then you should follow these rules. But if, like, it's your board game, you've played it several times, you're allowed to switch stuff out if you want. Especially if you have this in, like, the Ninja Turtles game, and you want to start mixing and matching stuff. Yeah, you might swap out Batman for Splinter or something. And then there's the goals, and then the decks, which are red and blue. I don't remember if, I know that Turtles also had green and yellow later on. Batman might not have added the other colors. Alright, so here's our table of contents. So we have introduction, 1, 1, 2, 3s, number of players, competitive, cooperative. And then we have episode 4 and 5 listed on there. All the awesome people that worked on the game. Episode 1, On Leather Wings. Alright, and I'm not going to worry about the story. If that's something you care about, I guess you can kind of read through that. But here is our first page. So it's going to just state who we have to have. Some of the rules and references. I do like this part in here, though, so I got my finger in there holding up something. But I like the fact that it tells you what some of the different terrains do and all that. That's pretty nice. Then we have the actual map. So before we get to the map, we'll look at this part here. Competitive and cooperative setup. So what characters you need. Strength, what card decks to use. Recommended heroes. I do like this, too, because they have gadgets. They tell you what cards the character should be using, which is nice. Again, you don't have to do that, but that's just saying, hey, if you want to kind of play this that way. Then you pay attention, we'll have components which say A and B, which will kind of drop where they are. So here's board number 1. So at the very top, that 6B is going to say what actual board it is. And then you can see where you have your tokens, a bunch of your henchmen. And then if you look very far to the left here on 1A, you should have the B token, just for the door. So make sure we pay attention to that. Alright. Episode 2, Cat and the Claw. Hold that for a sec if you want to read about that. Then we'll kind of just fly through these. I'm not going to spend too much time on each one. Just kind of look at them, and if I notice anything interesting, I will definitely mention it. Just because there's a lot, and I don't have a lot to talk about through. So we have, let's start with this again. So we have Catwoman in this one. We're fighting, of course, and ISIS or some enforcers. A couple of different skylights. So this is actually a neat one because it's going to have the different skylights to go into. So we have 3A and 7B. And then it actually is going to have a separate tile for 8B. So when you drop into the skylight, then you're playing in a different map. And that's what makes this game fun, is that you can do stuff like that, where you can have maps separate. Episode 3 is the Heart of Ice. Yeah, you can have maps in separate locations or separate from each other. So this is Act 1. This is a multi-part battle. Heroes will win if they rescue all the bystanders, and Mr. Freeze receives a KO token. So you'll have some of the statuses on here: Entangled and Cold. Nice that they kind of just give you a reminder on each little indication for those. Alright, so we have competitive and cooperative setup. And our board, like a lot of components on this board. But no, it's actually cool that we have the, so we have 2A here, but we have some hostages already on there. Plus we have the ice tokens you can place down, which again, using the tile tokens make the game really fun, because we get to add more things to each board that wouldn't normally be there, so you can really customize your boards. Alright, so what is B and C? Canisters and canister stacks. Cool. Alright. Then we have the Heart of Ice Act 2. Scenario rules, so I have some different scenarios in there. Villain figures not affected by ice terrain. And of course, there's always the victory down here. You can get different stuff for different things. There's with his wife, Nora. Alright, we have a little bit easier, just some enforcers and hired guns. And then we have 5A. Bunch of enforcers in there, hired guns. And then B is everyone. I love how all the heroes start entangled on ice. That's actually pretty cool. They start with status effects. This is a really neat thing that got added in that wasn't in the Ninja Turtles, the status effects. Alright, Heart of Ice number 3. The freeze laser is active as long as villain figures on either space of the freeze laser token. It becomes inactive if no villain is on that space. Ooh, we got a freeze laser. We got some ally cards entangled. Here's our setup again. Now, like these multi-part acts, I think are generally should be played in a row, like 1, 2, 3, but you don't have to necessarily play episode 1, then episode 2, then episode 3. You could play episode 3 first, then go back and play 1, then jump to episode 7. But if they were to play the multi-parts, you should probably play them in order. But again, this is what's really fun about this. It's your game. Do what you want to do. So I didn't show it was 5A over, or 5B over there. This is 4A. Yeah, set the stuff with whatever you have. Like, obviously, this is base game content. So, if you own the game, you should be able to just set all this stuff up. But, you know, like when we start getting to the second video where we start doing the Kickstarter stuff, Joker's Favor, episode 4. Yeah, maybe you don't have maybe you didn't get the stretch goal characters, but you still have all the map tiles because you bought, you know, the base game at Arkham. Yeah, so you just replace some of the characters. So instead of maybe fighting, I'm trying to even think of someone who's in there, like Condiment King is one of the villains. You know, swap them out for the Joker. You know, you could definitely do that. Play a different mode, different characters. Alternatively, it's like when you get some of these missions might be really fun to play the reverse direction. Play as the villains, as heroes, versus some of the other villains. Like maybe, so for like this one example, is you're playing as Harley Quinn, or you're fighting against Harley Quinn. Maybe your hero is the Joker, you know, or well, I guess Joker's in here as well too, but, yeah, you could definitely do some interesting stuff with some of these. This also has the bomb element, which is kind of a neat idea. So the Joker starts off the board. Yeah, so we look back at this. I like that. So like that way over on the left side here. 5B, we have her. She starts with a bomb. These guys all have the cover tokens, which are really cool. Bystanders start on the board. Definitely some interesting gameplay. It'd be fun to mix some of these with the Ninja Turtles. I'm sure people have made crossovers. Here we have Joker's Favor Act 2. Focus check on the door and tile vs difficulty 3. Each higher gun starts with a hostage status token. Now you notice the one thing that's a little bit different on here. They don't have as much. I mean, we just kind of compared to the Ninja Turtles to the Victory. They don't have as much stuff where it's more campaign like, where there are a lot more stuff that things are affected if you win or lose. They don't do that as much in here. I think they're trying to make it a little bit more lighthearted. I think the Turtles just trying to be a little bit more serious. Alright, we have 5B. Heroes start there. They did all do stuff. I like how there was 6 in here as well. I don't think most of the Ninja Turtle set. I'm going to keep referring to that because it came out first. Usually have more than 4. I think they suspect you to play 4 characters from the base game. But I think this came with more characters. Joker Favor Act 3. We have the Smilex. Diffusing a bomb. Harmful terrain. Obscuring terrain. Victory. It just goes to show you, if heroes win, just goes to show you don't owe the Joker any favors. The villain wins. At least you don't owe the Joker any more favors. That's kind of funny. Either one kind of ends the same way. Okay, so there's a lot of stuff on this one as well. It's always fun. More different things add for some extra stuff. This is a bomb token as well. So 5A, we have that set up. I have a bunch of crates. I think this utilizes a lot more of utilizing a lot more crates and different terrain and different tokens. Especially helps you have all the different status tokens that do a lot more stuff. They get you guys. Oh, sorry, it's 3A. Make sure we show which set that is. Alright, Nothing to Fear. We have episode 5, the end of the first book. And we're gonna fight Scarecrow. Alright, so here we go. Security guys, compared to security guards, range strikes do not weaken for the first 4 spaces. So I have Fear Toxin, of course. There's a bunch of different effects. Inoculate. So it does say here, though, like, if the heroes win, they start with Alfred Pennyworth ally. If the villains win, hero must choose 2 heroes to start with Fear Toxic status tokens. So at least I like that, because it gives you, like, it's the idea, like, even if you lose, you can keep playing. You don't have to keep replaying the same battles over and over. And that's what makes these campaign modes in this really fun. Because it's like, there's, you're playing through every single story. There's, I think, 26 stories total? Like, it would suck to get hung up on, like, spot number, 3 or something. So we do have the vault tile over here. So this is an extra special tile there, which is really cool. You can enter that as a special area. We only have tile 6A right there. Have to hop over that desk. And then outside, this is kind of neat. So you have outside, inside, and a bank vault to make for a really fun little scenario. And then we have Nothing to Fear Act 2. Some more hostages. Some Scarecrow enforcers. That might be the downside of a base game like this. It's just so you have tile 8. 8B is just so you're playing this, but you have all like you have different villains. Like okay, first we had Man Bat, then we had Catwoman, then Mr. Freeze, then Joker, Harley Quinn. Now we're fighting Scarecrow, and that's really cool. But all the bad guys are all the same. It's all a bunch of hired guns or goons. There's not a very big variety there. I don't remember. I don't think the Batman one added too many variations on the bad guys. Like the Ninja Turtles eventually did because they had Mousers and Flyborgs and various types of foot soldiers, like elites and like assassins, and then the Savant, and plus you had like the gangsters, the Purple Dragons. So like a lot more different enemies to fight, and I think Batman is just mainly just the thugs and goons. Which I mean, I don't know who else you're supposed to have. That's who he fought. He's either fighting a random thug or goon, or he was fighting that. Like, I guess you could potentially have made, like, more themed henchmen per certain characters. Like, maybe, like, Joker henchmen, or like, Ice-themed one for Mr. Freeze. But then the problem is, then they would have felt, like, out of place with other characters. So that was the only thing. Here we get a fight on the blimp for the first time. The iconic Batman the Animated Series blimp on 2B. And you cross over onto a building. Or actually vice versa, you start on the building and cross over. I like how two of the characters start off of the tile, which is interesting. Or just the edge of the building. Interesting though. But yeah, you can fall off this and die, which is kind of cool. Alright, so that was the first 5. So we'll jump in and look at the next bunching. Alright, on to book number 2, episode 6 through 12. Alright, so they're going to have the same information, but we'll look at the table of contents quick. So you have Two-Face, What is Reality, Blind is a Bat, and a couple solo arcade battles. Alright, so we have Two-Face, episode 6. There's our story, what we need to do, competitive rules, scenario, and some hostages. Our setup. And we have the Harvey Dent coin. Oh, car, Batmobile, car, police. Like, why don't you just put Batmobile and police car? Alright, we have 8A here inside of a building. Bunch of hostages, thugs and gangsters, Two-Face, and then we have the street. 4A. And heroes go to the Batmobile. Or they go to the police car. So this could be a fun one where you could have, like, some characters play the Bat family, and someone play, like, Harvey Dent or Renee Montoya or Harvey Bullock, play, like, the cops, you know. And you could kind of split up into 2 different groups. It'd be kind of a fun little way to play that. Act 2. Fight some more Two-Face. Probably not much changes. That's probably the other upside about playing these back to back. Is I'm gonna guess that a lot of the minions and decks aren't gonna change very much. So if you just play the last one, you can probably just take the exact same, like lots of the same stuff, just swap out the map. Plus your character decks could just be set up. You don't have to reset everything every time. So we have 6B. And 4B. There's an escape. And then Two-Face, Act 3. So we have to capture Rupert, Thorn, and Two-Face. Rupert Thorne's not listed on here as of yet. Huh. Interesting. 5B. And 1B. So did I miss something in here? I'll flip back to here. Okay, so Crusher marked the objective token as Rupert Thorne. But if you have this, I believe he's one of the stretch goal characters. So if you have him, you can just swap him out with that, which could again make an interesting idea there. So now, what is reality? So here's, we're going to fight episode 7. We're going to fight against the Wriggler. And that's definitely something you can change up. Like, it's, you know, with, like, saying one way of saying, if you don't own the Kickstarter stuff, you can always substitute characters you have for that. Alternatively, you can do it the other way. You have the Kickstarter stuff, you can always substitute them in for characters from these sets. And vice versa. Like, you did, you know, like maybe you bought the base game, but you didn't buy Arkham for some reason, but because you bought the base game through Kickstarter, you got all the stretch goal characters. You gotta swap some of them characters in for characters from the Arkham Asylum set, or you can get some of the other, like, Phantasm set. You can swap in a different character for that. Here's 7A, the GCPD. Oh, well, there's like a hostage just sitting on things. I love if they had hostage miniatures. I don't remember if we did or not. If we did, I don't think we probably got enough for everything, but that would be cool. What is Reality Act 2? Not too much I need to spend on each of these. We're just trying to get through. Carrying items, interrogate. You can get Lucius Fox ally card. Hoopa. Alright, there we go. Wriggler, again, we're going to keep fighting him. Yeah, just red and blue. I did like, and that's probably the downside of like this being a one campaign thing. I think Ninja Turtles, they were expecting to like potentially keep going, which is why they added other colors. They added greens and they added yellows eventually for some of the stretch goal characters. I think that really makes a big difference, having just different alternatives to having everyone have the same deck. Batmobile is putting in overtime, dropping off heroes in 1B. Alright, what is Reality Act 3? The team is split into two duos. One team is locked in a fight in a virtual front, while the other must protect their bodies. So this could be a very interesting match. A lot of extra rules in there. We have a bunch of VR machine, VR world tile. So we have an extra little spot over here. You put a little extra tile, which is the VR world tile. I'm guessing it's probably the backside of the vault tile is my best bet. But yeah, so you put a couple of guys over there. And then you have 5A and 5B. And I'm guessing this is where your characters start to fight, but then their bodies are over here, so like you have to protect them. Kind of a neat mode, you know, versus just like whenever they do anything where it's not just straight up like defeat all the enemies. Here's something different. You collect these things, do this thing, defeat this. It definitely makes the game more interesting. We have Blind as a Bat. So episode 8. So we're gonna fight the Penguin. Fighting all all the big villains in this. This one's all about rescuing bystanders. Yes, and that's what made the Batman add some interesting new stuff in there with the Smilex gas and the bombs and stuff, because it made it more mission focused versus like the Turtles game, which is a lot more just combat. It's literally just beat these guys, defeat these guys. This had a lot more. This added a lot more elements to that, but that's what makes this even more unique. Is with these games being able to combine together. As a thing that where you could play, add some of the components from one to the other. You could make some missions for the Ninja Turtles that have more stuff, like you could set up a bomb thing and they're like, ooh, Shredder set up bombs around the city, we have to stop. You can make some interesting things like that. Yeah, you could definitely do a lot of interesting modes, or play some of the special modes in the Turtles one, but with Batman characters and stuff. Or, I don't know if you could use the utility cards with the Ninja Turtles. I would imagine you should just be able to mix them in there. But I know that some of the only certain heroes are supposed to have them, the utility cards, like some of the Bat allies. And not everybody, is that it might affect how they play. I'd have to really look more into that. I haven't looked into it for a while. But that could definitely be some interesting stuff. It's also unfortunate they didn't get to keep going, because I know they wouldn't have made any more Batman, just because I think this is a one and done regardless for the animated series. But the Ninja Turtles, they were planning on doing some more stuff. That would have been definitely cool. Added some more, because they could have taken elements from this and added it to the expansions. And alternatively, or also, I guess, they were talking about doing Avatar next. Blinders of Back Act 3. If they would have done Avatar, that would have been, again, an interesting new thing. You would have had, I'm guessing, a lot more outside areas to fight in, versus Batman has a lot of indoor buildings. The Turtles had a lot of, like, city streets and sewers. I think you would have a lot more, like, outdoor areas to fight in. Oops, we didn't get the map of that one. Plus, there would have been different focuses on stuff on what you had to do. New mechanics. I think it would add some new mechanics and stuff like that. Like, if the Turtles is all about combat, I think Avatar would have been a lot about combat as well. But it also would have had to add something with the bending properties. So you would have added different types of ranged combat. Yes, that would have been kind of cool. And I don't know, they didn't ever get... Unfortunately, they didn't get to the point of specifying what Avatar they were going to do. The assumption was probably going to be the original Avatar, the Last Airbender, not the James Cameron blue guys. But yeah, but there's also speculation that maybe we would have done, like, mainly focused on that, and then maybe, or done two box sets, like the Turtles. One would have been Avatar, one would have been Korra. It would have been kind of cool. Just more content, but unfortunately it didn't happen. So these are arcade battles. They're kind of just like little one-offs. So you have dropping in uninvited. So these aren't really necessarily part of the regular story. They're just, extra special things you can do. All the other episodes are kind of based off episodes of the show. These are just like, ones they made up. But they definitely get to add some different stuff. So this is going to give you your different leaders, so you can have different characters in there. So the other one specified, play as Joker or play as Riddler. This lets you pick whatever villains you want to play as. So you just pick whoever you want. You're going to have your different ideas. So that we have, like, gangsters on 6B protecting their boss. And then here we have an outside thing where it's kind of rushing in. They dropping through the skylight onto the table. Very interesting. We have Break the Bank. So they're robbing a bank here. Or trying to stop the villains from robbing a bank, I guess, rather. So we have, Leader, Crusher, Enforcer, and Hired Gun, the three main ones. And then some time bombs. Just adds a little bit different setup and stuff. So this one actually adds, kind of a neat idea, because it has that vault tile or extra room tile going between two corners. Now this is another thing that's neat. If they would have added more stuff like this, you could have the tiles be at different levels or different heights. We had somewhere like the building was off to its side. We had the one where you had to drop through the skylights to go to another room, so they're completely separate. Things like this are kind of cool too. That way you just add it adds a different shape, which just lets you play around with this design space a little bit differently. So they're going into the bank, out to the back side of the vault, like maybe where they broke through the wall. Kind of neat. We have number 11, Take to the Skies. So just showing various pictures from the cartoon. Both time bombs are defused, and Man-Bat and the villain leader receive KO tokens. Alright, so this one is going to specify you have to have Man-Bat, but you get another leader, so another different character, which is kind of pick and choose. And it's also makes it different, because you could play it, ideally, if just looking at the other villains from the base set, you're playing this with Man-Bat. It's not going to be, super different, but it is going to be different a little bit if you played Joker or Harley Quinn or Mr. Freeze or Scarecrow or Riddler or whoever with Man-Bat. Depending on what different character, there's 8 different villains, they're all going to play differently. It's going to change up how it works a little bit. So we have 2B. And then they have the rooftops. Now, these two aren't connected like the other ones. It's the same 2 tiles that we had in the other blimp rooftop one, but they're not combined, so you have to use the mode to get use some of the rules to get across. Then we have One Bad Day, which is how Joker was created. The villain player may select which villain leader to bring to this battle. If the villain leader is added to the battle at the start of the round, the villain player takes the villain leader's ability cards like one to their hand and shuffle the deck. Alright, so then we have just, a little bit more generic stuff. Recommended villain, the Joker. So it's kind of neat. So it recommends you use him, but you don't have to again. Filing cabinets. Kicks. So we have 2B, just a city building of some sort. And then we go into the plant for 1A. Alright, so that's what we have for episodes 6 to 12. So that's the base game. Then we're going to, last for this video, is we're going to look at the Arkham Asylum expansions. This will add a bunch of new characters. A couple of more known ones like Mad Hatter or Poison Ivy or Clayface, and then some other ones like Max Zeus and Clock King. But it's going to have all the same exact legend setup and all that. There's all the list of all the characters. There is Clayface mode. We'll definitely add this in there. So you can add a special mode where you can play as Clayface using these special cards. Just hold up that rule just in case you wanted to know how all those work. And their table of contents. So we're going to have Pretty Poison, Feet of Clay, and Mad as a Hatter. So the 3 main villains. That you know, and then a couple of arcade battles, which just let you use some of the other characters. Alright. Pretty Poison. Episode 13. So this should, I believe, probably is going to combine stuff from the base game with the expansion. So you're going to probably need both. Alright, what do we have here? We have just some thugs we're going to fight in the first mission, which makes sense. So now this can definitely be a full continuation. You could keep playing all the way through the base game campaign. If you want to make it even a full campaign with all of this stuff, so here's Tile 1B. You can always add stuff for, like, if you win a battle or you win a full thing, you get to add an extra card here to, like, maybe start out your character only starts with, like 1 or 2 ability cards. And as you win, you get to add more or purchase more gadgets. And basically increase your ability to swap stuff around as the game goes on. And if you lose, maybe then you have to lose an ability or gadget. Just that way, like, it penalizes you from losing too many times in a row. And then, like, you can also, or do stuff where, like, hey, you can gain another hero. So, like, maybe you just start with Batman and Robin. It's like a 2-person thing. And then if you win, like, the first thing, or the first, like, 2 missions or whatever, you get, like, oh, now we get to add Batgirl, or we get to add the Commissioner. And you could do interesting stuff like that, just to kind of make it more of, like, hey, we're playing through all of these, the better we do, we get more characters. Like, if you lose, you could be like, oh, one of our characters got captured, now we can no longer use, Robin, or Commissioner Gordon got hurt. He's out of commission, for a turn. Here we have Ivy and her killer plants. So now we have some of the new tiles. We have 9A. And then her 2 killer plants there, and 10A. But yeah, that could definitely be an interesting overall campaign mode. They didn't really, like, add anything in there. That'd be a neat thing if someone came up with. Just because, yeah, then you have an idea like, hey, you get rewarded for winning. If you don't, you don't. You could even maybe set it up in a way that's, like, you have, like, maybe, like, the full campaign's listed, like, numbers, like, so, like, this is episode 13. So it's like you might have episode 1, 2, 3, like, every episode is a separate thing, broke up not by parts, but by, like, full episodes. Like, some are 1 episode missions, some are 2, some are 3. But then you draw them in random order. So that way, like, you could play the campaign multiple times and not get the same ones over and over. And then even ideally, if you want to even add more to that, could be if the villain upgrade version is you could recruit villains to play with you if you wanted to. It just gives you more options to play with different stuff. Like, you could set up certain ones, like, hey, this is Poison Ivy's mission. We beat Poison Ivy's mission. We get her as an ally. And we can use her from now on. You just have to check to make sure no other missions require her. Like, Joker, you might not be able to get unless you defeated him X number of times, or something. This is also just a really interesting thing, just to point out here. So this is the 9 and the previous mission, 9 and 10 maps. And this is 9 and 10 also. Same exact maps, they just throw all the fire in there. Which then changes out completely different things. I like this idea, and some of the Turtles have done this as well, where it's basically you spent the first time getting to this side, now you have to go back, but everything's on fire. So it really works into that story mode in there. We have Feats of Clay, episode 14. Now, like the Turtle one, the original one, you start the beginning street and you go into the subway. And then, like, mission 2, like, part 2 is, like, from one part of the subway to the next. And then part 3 is the second, it goes to the second part of that subway to the third part. So you're traveling through the entire subway throughout 3 missions, which is really cool. Alright, we have Clayface. Also would have been neat, because they didn't get around to it, would have been Batman Turtle crossovers. Now, obviously, this is the animated series, but they did make the animated series book. You can always try and recreate that story, even if it's just like a single one-off. That would be kind of neat. Even those are the IDW, like more not, I don't want to say realistic, but like more gritty turtles versus the animated ones that teamed up with the animated Batman. So it's two different themes, but you can still definitely like try and recreate the two different stories. Either the animated Batman Turtle crossover or the regular Batman Turtle crossover, but with the three different books. You know, it'd be interesting to do that if all the villains are represented. So there's all those ones. We have Feats of Clay Act 2. This all has a bunch of stuff with Lucius Fox. We're fighting Clayface a couple of times. Dumpster. So this one's kind of neat. You gotta jump from rooftop to rooftop or jump down the alley and beat up a bunch of thugs. And Feats of Clay Act 3. A bunch of hidden objective tokens in here. So even though it shows 6 spots for the heroes, it usually says you only play with 4. Yeah, I think it just added so you have, like, if you play with more characters, you can have options. Yeah, so here's some, like, broken walls. This is kind of a neat one where you have to, like, you're gonna have to, like, travel between these different rooms. So where are those? Those are, yeah, broken walls. So you travel, like, little tiny areas to fight in versus one big giant area. So you eventually get into the studio. Alright, Mad as a Hatter. Episode 15. Jervis Tetch. Status Freefall and Mind Control. So we add this new element to the game. Recommend heroes. Heroes with the grappling gun gadget. It's awesome. 6 bystander, 18 mind controls. So it's kind of neat, because then now the villains become guys you have to fight. And you're trying to de-mind control them as opposed to just straight up beating them. So you have 11B and 12B, so we have some new tiles. Mad as a Hatter Act 2. Alright, so this is an interesting one here too. So we have one map on here so far. This is a broken wall. This definitely makes it a little bit more interesting, because usually I think every other one so far has had at least 2, if not, some of them have 3. Just having one map is a little bit different. And then Mad as a Hatter Act 3. Just taking control of Robin and some of the it's Bullock. Why can't I think of his first name? Is it Harvey Bullock? I might be wrong. Alright, so there's that. And that could also be an interesting full-on campaign mode. Is like, if you lose this is a 3-part battle. If you lose the engines, I was like, the villains will become more powerful. And if you're playing a full campaign mode, you could be like, every time you play a new campaign, like, oh, we lost this one completely. Like, we didn't finish the third, we didn't capture the Mad Hatter. So now he's still loose. So then what you could do is, certain ones you could gain, like Catwoman, could help out, maybe Poison Ivy or Harley might be willing to help you out for a mission or something, maybe even like a one-time use mission thing. But you got other ones be like, if they get loose, you can always like have to roll a die, and if you roll like a 5 or 6, they get added into like a campaign. So like, oh, because you didn't beat the Mad Hatter in this campaign, next time you fight another one, oh, now we're fighting the Man-Bat. Oops, now Mad Hatter jumped in. It's just gonna add a little bit of, it's gonna change, it's gonna mess up that campaign, but it's gonna make it a lot harder. And it punishes you. Like, you gain rewards, you gain extra characters, extra cards, you get stronger for winning. But on the other hand, you get penalized for losing. So it could be very interesting. Alright, then we have arcade battles. So these are the customizable ones with standalone experiences. So we have Early Release Program Act 1. So this is battle number 16. So yeah, like the other ones, like you get to play kind of whoever you want to. But yeah, it gives you some penalties aside of multiplayer mode. We have 2 different bad guys. So again, this lets you play as all the different Arkham characters that weren't one of the other 3. Or you could play as any of the regular characters. It could be Harley and Ivy doing this. Or Joker and Harley. Two-Face and Penguin. Or a bunch of the stretch goal characters. So we have 6B, and we have that wall in there. And 9B. Alright, Early Release Program Act 2. You have to KO all the villains. Alright, so we have, look at this, 6 leader characters, no henchmen. Now imagine this is a crazy match, right? I mean, you use a 6 from the base game, you could use some of the other ones. This is, again, a really neat mode. So this is 9B, and then we jump over into 10B. Now it starts with two doors unlocked, so the villains can get out, and then as each round they open up. But he also said if you lost the last round, Act 1, they open up a round earlier. So that's definitely crazy, right? It's going to be a very hard mode to play. But again, that could be something if you set it up like as a scenario, like, oh, these are all the villains you captured. These are the ones you have to, like, as you beat mode, you play this later on, right? You play this as battle 16, right? So, like, any ones you captured are ones that can potentially go in there. You randomly draw them. If they lost and they're on the loose, you can't play as them. And then if you don't win that match for some reason, those guys could escape, and then now you have to worry about them again. It's going to be very crazy. So you have number 17, Priorities. We have Killer Croc and Baby Doll. 2 villain masterminds team up. Again, mixing and matching the villains, can definitely make for some crazy ideas, because how they're going to play very differently. The different stuff they're going to do. Now, this is also a fun one. This has a lot of a big map. So we have the 3 sections. We have 5A, 8A, and then 4A. To go a little bit closer up on each one. But yeah, this is neat, because it, like, just instead of having them in a line or in a square, it has a little bit different style to it, which makes it very unique and interesting to play. So it's kind of like the heroes start out here, then they have to go up to the middle, then they have to decide which direction to go. Do they stick together, or do they all go to 5A, and then have to worry about bad stuff happening in 8A, or do they go split up in half and half, which makes it harder for each one? It's very interesting, right? There's also a little board setup one down there as well. Alright, then we have 18, which is our last mission. The Bridge to Blimp Rescue with Ventriloquist and Clock King. Showing there. Defusing a bomb. Good luck. So two more leaders. Most of them use one or two at a time, which is pretty typical. Some more bombs. Seem to be the go-to for the arcade ones, you know. But yeah, look at this. All the mystery tokens you have to dig through on 11B. And then 12B in the middle there. And then 2B where you have to jump over to the blimp. Yes, it says recommended. Grappling, gadget, or flying trait. So you can go over to the blimp. Alright, so that is what we have for Arkham set, but the Batman Animated Series. The first 18 missions. So in video 2, we will go over the stretch goals and all the other ones, which is up through 26. So it's not as long of a video, but it'll be all the stretch goal content. So I think all the maps and stuff in there will be the same from this set and the other one. I don't think there's any new maps introduced in the stretch goals. I don't remember off the top of my head. I don't think there was. But it will, I'm sure lots of them will encompass some of the characters and have missions specific to them. So if you don't own the stretch goals, you could always at least look at them and like, hey, I can play these and swap out different characters. You know, just as an example on here, like they're showing, you know, Condiment King or Livewire. You could swap, or Ra's al Ghul, you could swap them out for Joker or different other characters and stuff like that. Alright, so we will see you guys in part 2. Bye.